Hello students, I welcome you all to my Swayam course titled Comics and Graphic Novels in Indian Context. We are into the last week of our course, and in this week, the theme of this week is the contemporary Indian graphic novel scene. Today is the lecture 2 of this week, which is titled Indian Graphic Novels, Visual Intertextualities, Mixed Media and the Local Reader, which is an article by Ira Sharma. So as the title of the lecture itself says that visual intertextualities. So in this novel, we have discussed in the very last lecture that I gave about post-millennial Indian graphic narratives, not post-millennial Indian graphic novel. So in a way now the novel has proliferated, it has transformed, it has reshaped itself into the narrative, and there are all sorts of narratives that are now being part of the graphic narration form, and the novel itself is just one, graphic novel itself is just the one form through which sequential art or the graphic narration can be possible. Now with the emergence of digital media, with the emergence of with the kind of boon, with the kind of support, with the kind of funding that is given to indigenous artists, it has become possible even for the folk art to come and exhibit their art on the national and international platforms. As a result of it, the contemporary graphic narrative scene has kind of proliferated, is kind of adapted, is kind of appropriated, is kind of collaborated with the national and international artists, not on the global map itself, but even on the national map itself. So many things are happening which has led to the emergence of intertextualities, mixed media, and the rise of local readers. So it's not just the upper class elite and highly educated reader of graphic novel that existed earlier when the form began, but today people have now become very much aware it's not innovative form anymore. It has actually kind of established itself very much significantly and is being studied through in the form of graffiti art, the wall art, which is also a kind of narration that happens in the form of anthologies that are published, illustrated anthologies that we saw through many collections like This Side, That Side of Vishwajyoti Ghosh that we read in the previous week. And there are so many aspects that have actually changed the politics, the dimension of graphic novel form, leading to give way to the narrative form, leading to give way to any kind of narrative. So even a painting that is being produced that is actually visualizing certain aspect from any epic is also a narration. So it is said that, so the novel, the graphic novel has now kind of dismantled the post-millennial India, the contemporary post-millennial art has kind of dismantled the form of graphic novel, but is actually demanding in the sense that, the art is coming up in a very sequential form through blogs, through social media, through all kinds of digital artists who are producing a kind of narrative from nostalgia, from aspirational policies, from aspirational tendency of middle classes. So all such things become kind of theme of graphic visualizing, even for a scene. I mean, if an artist is taking recourse to what happened in his childhood, or how was India in the pre-liberalization and liberalization years, that is also a kind of narrative which they are drawing in the post-millennial India. So so just one picture is also telling a story. As we have seen that various kind of artists, various kind of sketches are being promoted on platforms like Instagram, which are totally dedicated to probably photographs and stories in the form of reels. All such kind of inventions, technological inventions that are coming up on social media, on digital media, are kind of providing a very expansive ground for the graphic narratives to experiment themselves, to reinvent themselves, and to redefine what graphic novel meant in the very first instance. So graphic novel or graphic narrative are not just restricted to the form itself, but they have now expanded immensely to almost all horizons of the country. Introduction. Intertextuality, multimodality, mixed media. The graphic novel narrates its stories through a combination of text and images. Images, as integral components of the narrative, demand a deep analytical approach akin to the security applied to verbal texts to unravel their narrative content, meaning, and intertextual differentiality. Janet views intertextuality as the relationship of co-presence between two or among several texts in the sense of the actual presence of one text within another. Graphic novels are multimodal narratives as they combine the modes of word and image to tell their tales, produce meanings, and make these meanings evident. Multimodality, a key feature of graphic novel, enriches the narrative by creating a more comprehensive and nuanced meaning than a single mode could achieve, thereby enhancing the reader's understanding of the story world. So, the contemporary Indian graphic narrative scene has not only kind of expanded from the form itself, but the content of the contemporary narrative, graphic narratives, has also revolutionized in the sense that they are kind of relying on the past, they are kind of relying on the already existing works of the past and kind of presenting them in a very innovative manner by kind of bringing two or different texts together so that the reality not only appears as something new but is also something which fits in the contemporary timescape. For example, when you listen to songs or when you see the remakes of the film, why do you think that only a single film from the past is now being remade again and again and again? Are there no new stories left? Or are there no new lyrics or rhythm left? That is why people or the musicians are capitalizing on the old songs and filling them with the new rhymes and music and kind of selling those old songs. So they are in a way trying to sell nostalgia, which people loved, which people liked at one point of time, but and people find that there is completely in today's world there are no good songs coming up. You see the kind of lyrics, they don't have any meaning, they don't have any rhythm, they don't have any rhyme, they don't have any softness. So it is bringing back that nostalgia in a way and kind of mixing, giving it a flavor of new by mixing new tones, giving it new musical rhymes to it, in a way selling it to the audience that belongs to post-millennial India. In the same way, something similar is also happening in the graphic narrative form, where you see the iconography, the images are being drawn upon from maybe Amar Chitra Katha because they were relatable, they were very popular, they were very familiar. But they are now being completely, for example, we talked about Sita. We talked about two Sitas, like one is Sita's Ramayana and we talked about Amar Chitra Katha Sita. Though they are both relying on Ramayana, but the kind of Sita's representation that they are doing, one is very fair, slim, dutiful, always standing at the back, and the other is very assertive. So we are actually talking about one mythological figure who existed in Ramayana, but we have two different identities, and these different identities are very much in line with the kind of society that was there when these kind of narratives were written. Sita's Ramayana being a part of post-millennial India, where you also have a working woman, where you have educated women, where you have women who are very much aware about their rights, women who are very much aware about when some injustice is being done to them. And Amar Chitra Katha's Ramayana belonged to the liberalization years when women's role was primarily considered as to be the homemaker, as to be somebody who is kind of bringing up the child, responsible for taking care of the family. No matter, even if a woman was going out, her primary role was always as a caregiver of the family. She had to come back to cook the food, and she was considered as the primary caretaker for her children. She was responsible for educating her children, sending them to school, preparing her tiffins and everything else. But in Sita's Ramayana, Sita is more assertive. She has a voice. She says no so many times when people ask her repeatedly to give that Agni Pariksha. And not only that, she becomes one with the nature in the sense she feels. So in a way, this feminine identity, the shift in feminine identity, comes from one particular text, but it is reinvented, but it is remolded in the contemporary times. Visual referencing in the graphic novel, allusion and quotation. Allusion and quotation are among the most commonly used strategies to integrate pre-existing utterances into new contexts. Just as verbal allusion speaks of something without explicitly mentioning it, visual allusion evokes an existing image without showing it whole or in parts. Instead, it presents the reader with identifiable visual clues that points to the referenced visual material like, for example, a conspicuous collocation of objects or people or any particular sequence of events that evoke famous film scenes. In the context of the graphic novel, quotations can be viewed as overt or covert incorporations of extra diegetic images as reproductions. Overt visual quotes, similar to direct quotes in text, use the reproduction of the image instead of quotation marks to retain its original form. This leads to mixed media, where drawn images or cartooning are combined with other types of images like photographs, paintings, or newspaper clippings. Covert visual quotes, which are paraphrase original images in the artist's unique style, which, much like indirect verbal quotes, rephrase the text. These images are redrawn or copied to blend into the overall visual aesthetics, making them less noticeable. Like an allusion, they may go undetected unless the viewer recognizes the motive. Allusion refers to a visual representation created through suggestion. The indirect quote aims for similarity, a reproduction of the image or a portion of it, albeit stylistically altered. Allusion in Apu Pen. Visual allusions abound in the graphic novel. In the Indian context, a master of visual allusion is George Mathen alias Apu Pen. The fantastical land of his fictitious land Hala Hala is replete with implicit references to an extra diegetic universe. At its best refers to a narrative space that exists outside the story's world, which darkly mirrors our own. Through Hala Hala, we find numerous echoes of our world, a resemblance mainly based on correspondence in similar configurations, patterns of behavior, or cultural narratives rather than visual similarities. The Saga of Ghost Girl, Part 2, Legacy, is a 25-page narrative that echoes a pivotal scene from a Batman movie, the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents. This moment drives young Bruce to become a guardian of justice in Gotham, a classic superhero origin story. In Apu Pen's Ghost Girl, a similar scene unfolds as a family of three turns into a dimly lit street after watching a film, suggesting they are heading home. This family does not encounter a mugger but instead faces a tiny dragon-like creature. When the father accidentally steps on its tail, it cries out, summoning a giant monster resembling the Hulk, which attacks them. The little boy calls for help, bringing Ghost Girl, a superhero like Wonder Woman, to the rescue. Unlike Bruce Wayne, who is traumatized, the boy is captivated by Ghost Girl, who leaves behind a photograph before disappearing. A shift in color from grey to yellow tinted drawings signals a time leap, revealing the boy as a grown man living alone in high rise. He has taken to dressing as Ghost Girl in the evenings. Unlike Bruce Wayne, he doesn't become an avenging superhero. Instead, he's sad-looking middle-aged man who smokes on his rooftop in a Ghost Girl costume. The narrative can be interpreted in various ways. While some reviewers see the cross-dressing as a sign of love for Ghost Girl, a more compelling interpretation is that his infatuation drives him to embody her rather than seek a relationship. This reflects a common tendency to shape oneself after distant idols and highlights the struggle to express one's true self in a conforming society. Apu Pen emphasizes the difficulty of becoming a Batman in today's world. The dystopian setting of Hala Hala, reflecting our reality, features superhuman characters but lacks true human heroes. The remnants of heroic actions have given rise to a pitiful anti-hero, contrasting with traditional Batman narratives. The Ghost Girl saga serves as a modern adaptation of Batman, showcasing how a would-be hero might struggle in our contemporary society. Indirect quotation from Vishwajyoti Ghosh. Vishwajyoti Ghosh's Delhi Calm is a graphic novel about the Indian emergency. Since Delhi Calm negotiates a historical topic, it is not surprising that Ghosh makes ample use of historic materials both from verbal and visual archives, a typical procedure in historical and autobiographical graphic narratives, which can be witnessed, for example, in Art Spiegelman's Moss. In Delhi Calm, we encounter multiple verbal allusions to original newspaper headlines or political propaganda, as well as literal quotes from official political speeches. In Delhi Calm, Ghosh draws from various visual sources, including the iconic photograph of socialist trade unionist George Fernandez. Arrested in June 1976 for leading an underground resistance against Indira Gandhi's dictatorship, he became a symbol in chains after a photograph showed him handcuffed, raising his left arm with a clenched fist, an ultimate act of defiance. So it's not that, it is only through the characters, just as I said. If you go on to read and view Delhi Calm itself, as I said when we were discussing it, the artwork in the Delhi Calm includes posters, banners, pamphlets, newspaper cuttings, radio speaking. So how the contemporary graphic narrative radio, when you see radio and print newspaper being used, the images, and the TV, the images of all of them being used in the graphic novel form in order to showcase what the reality of emergency was, all these things are kind of turning the graphic narrative multimedia. It's multimediality, the graphic narrative, despite being in print form, is kind of bringing all the multimedia in order to narrate the story of how emergency looked like. So all kinds of experimentations, including intertextualities, multimodalities, are being done in the contemporary graphic narrative so as to make it more realistic, because in reality we are not just retaining ourselves. We can imagine our attention, the time span that we tend to give to one particular set of news is also reel based. We continue turning the reels which are only for a few seconds, which actually signifies, or which actually kind of communicates the kind of attention span that we are giving to each and every set, that our attention span has reduced so much that it has become reel based, and that is why reels are preferred much more than any other form of communication today, because they are very short, very small, and are in direct relation with how much time whether a user will give, or how much time are they interested in giving in listening to a particular set of news. This image has come to represent rebellion against the oppressive state during the emergency period. By referencing this photograph, Ghosh highlights both its symbolic significance and iconic status. For the insightful reader who recognizes the gesture and the photograph, Ghosh adds another layer of meaning. By tapping into the image's significance, he evokes memories of Fernandez's personal journey and iconic status, creating a dramatic effect and giving the image a sense of objective reality. The note with the fetters indicate that the unlawful seizure happened when the emergency was declared, linking Fernandez's fate to that of the nation. The note reflects Ghosh's reference to Fernandez's statement that the chains we bear symbolize a nation that has been bound. Rather than serving as simple documentary evidence, Ghosh presents the indirectly quoted photograph as a subversive footnote to the historical narrative, thereby adding significance beyond mere meaning. Direct quotation and mixed media by Sarnath Banerjee. These are the things which are used mostly by Sarnath Banerjee. A potent example of how pre-existing materials are recycled and thereby successfully changed with regard to context, focus and perspective is found in Sarnath Banerjee's Corridor. Though we are also going to study Corridor in detail in the next lecture, but here we are using how all these things are kind of used in his graphic novel, thus helping us identify how contemporary graphic novel form is kind of evading, is kind of becoming more fluid, in the sense that it is not restricting itself to structural form through which it began earlier. The graphic novel revolves around the daily life of four male characters in the 21st century Delhi, narrated and drawn by one of them, Brigu. One evening in a New Delhi park, Digital Datta and his girlfriend are confronted by a group of four goons. When one makes a disrespectful comment about Digital's mother, he becomes furious and swiftly fights them off. Before the fight, however, we see him momentarily pondering, looking up in the air towards that what appears like an imagined deployment of his heroes, all of them political leaders from the communist fold. The cut-out photographic portraits of Stalin, Jyoti Basu, Mao and Lenin are presented against a dark red background with a smaller image of Subhash Chandra Bose and a portrait of Che Guevara below. This collage-like display creates a striking contrast with the drawn environment and invites the reader to identify the figures. By emphasizing its playful nature, the presentation encourages recognition of these historical references related to the 20th century political revolution. Digital Datta portrays communist political leaders as a unified group of idealized anti-fascist revolutionaries, admiring what they represented to their followers. However, an informed reader recognizes the controversial legacies of figures like Stalin and Mao, particularly the millions of deaths tied to Stalin's Great Purge and Mao's Cultural Revolution. The reader may notice that Jyoti Basu stands out from the group. Due to his positive reputation as a long-serving member of the Communist Party of India and former Chief Minister of Bengal. This contrast between an informed evaluation and Digital's uncritical admiration adds an ironic twist to the images. The text offers a mocking portrayal of Digital Datta, a stereotypical Bengali intellectual. He is a mild-mannered rice eater with a broad cultural knowledge and an uncritical leftist romantic who imagines Karl Marx visiting him every night in his mind. Digital culture often overlooks the historical context of images like those of Mao and Guevara. Initially symbols of rebellion or official representation, both have evolved into depoliticized icons and mass-produced consumer goods. Both images are among the most reproduced in history, appearing on items like t-shirts and coffee mugs. Artists such as Andy Warhol, Jim Fitzpatrick and Gerard Malanga and Sanat Banerjee have appropriated them, illustrating how images can change in meaning. Their reworking and juxtaposition offer a new perspective on engaging with the past. In conclusion, graphic novels combine different modes and sometimes different media. They thus require new forms of multimodal and multimedia literacy of their readers. Readers can enjoy the text even without recognizing allusion or quotes, but they may miss deeper meanings. The complex intertextual narratives elevate the graphic novel's status in the Indian literary landscape, as it is an expensive English medium and an avant-garde genre. To fully grasp the multiple narrative layers and ironies, readers need more than a basic understanding. They require a sophisticated appreciation, ideally as global readers who navigate both global and Indian cultural contexts. The spaces in the mentioned Indian graphic novels are glocal, indicating that local and global aspects are interconnected rather than opposed. The local context is portrayed as a natural extension of the global. This form of localism should be considered alongside David Damrosch's two main approaches, explaining local issues to a global audience or integrating the outside world into local narratives. Graphic novels by Apopen, Ghosh, Patil and Banerjee enrich global readers' cultural literacy, allowing them to navigate various local, regional and national contexts. This creates a unique experience that blends global and local cultures. Thank you.